all the cherished viewers and listeners. It's my pleasure to be in the studio in flesh today.
In fact, if you've been listening to this show for a while, since when we started online, when we were online, and then when we came back to the traditional frequency, you know his voice. We've spoken to him many times on financial issues, mostly. Well, nice to have you in Ghana. Are you on vacation?
No, I'm on, if you like, a working trip on behalf of my party in the UK.
Oh, a working trip to Ghana?
If you'd like, yes. So I came together with a team of, as of yesterday, counting about 33 of us from the UK-Ireland chapter.
33?
33, to register and then to also support the registration exercise and support the various efforts by the party, various branches and constituencies in that regard. To ensure that we are working tirelessly to support as many people as possible to register to rescue Ghana in the forthcoming elections. So I have a large number of branch executives, fellow chapter executives, and we spent a fair amount of our time yesterday visiting our running mate, Professor Jane Nano Pukwuajiman, visiting the House of Parliament and meeting the leadership, and also making a few private visits to various constituencies in Ada, Agbon, Katamanso, and a few more to come. But we are pretty much here working. I wouldn't say a working holiday, but we're working for the party here.
I see. How long will you be here?
So I'm going back on the 28th, but some came yesterday and will be leaving a bit, will stay a bit longer. So different people are coming on different days. There are a few people still complaining even as of today who will be down here to help with the collective, if you like, communal labor required to get the elephant back into where it belongs.
When was the last time you were in Ghana?
A couple of years ago. Not too long ago, I would say. If my memory
During the
serves me
tenure of
right.
Nana Akufo-Addo?
Oh, yes. So I think that was just before COVID struck. And then for many reasons, wasn't able to make it.
How are you finding Ghana?
Ghana is hot. Not just the weather, but the economy. I think we always felt it remotely, but now we feel it in person when we come here. We see it for ourselves in the faces of our compatriots in the country. And I think that the mood now is, many are despairing, but now is not the time for despair. I think they say when you are on your knees, it's time to pray, not to crouch. Ghana is on its knees now, and it's time to pray, not just in the proverbial praying by words, but as somebody would say, you keep pushing until something happens. And so I believe that I see a lot of Ghanaians who are trying to register to make sure they do the needful. Unfortunately, it appears the government is doing its best to try and gerrymander at this stage, in quotes, make it very difficult for people to register through so many means. And you see a few skirmishes in some of our, if you like, constituencies. Okakwe North is one place where it appears that efforts are being made to frustrate the registration exercise. It appears the government thinks that higher registration will lead to higher turnout at the voting day, and therefore a quick goodbye to them. And so efforts are being made to thwart that. But I encourage my fellow compatriots, whether you are NDC, you are NPP, you are CPP, this is time for communal labor. This is time for rescuing Ghana. Go out in your numbers and register. If you don't register, you have no vote. It's better to register now and choose not to vote. As they always say, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it on 7th December and not have it. So now is the time for us all to get our names into the books. If you can't even register for one reason or another, get your families and friends out there to register so that at least we know our names are in the book and we are able to exercise our franchise come 7th December to save this country.
And that's exactly the work you said you've been doing since you came. Trying to help with the registration process. Are you happy with the numbers you're seeing?
I'm glad by the enthusiasm, and I think there's still room for more. There's no room for complacency. We still have a large number of Ghanaians. I see that within the politically active, if I may say so, many have already registered, and not just people who are not even political, I would say from a civic perspective, who are not MPP or NDC or CPP, but they just want to get their names in the register and do the needful. It's a case of a tale of two cities, if I may say. The reverse is a situation where we have some Ghanaians who are disillusioned with what has happened in the country, and for good reason, because many put their last hopes in President Nana Akufo-Addo. Of course, because of all the sweet honey talk that we had in 2016. and they kind of like get to a point where they say, look, if the NDC didn't quite meet the mark for us, the MPP has taken us miles back. What next? And you tend to hear that mantra. Even the MPP wrongly are going about say, oh, what will Mahama be able to do in 4 years? They are trying to almost sow some seed of despondency, not desperation, but make people feel frustrated and think there's no point engaging in it. Okay. But I think now is the time for us to engage to save our country. We don't have a choice. We only have one Ghana. The ancient empire of Ghana is long gone. We have the Republic of Ghana, and the Fourth Republic must stay. Not through the barrel of the gun, but through the power of the ballot box. And the only way we can do that is to register. So I encourage all Ghanaians, political or non-political, exercise your democratic right, register to vote, and make your choice for the good of Ghana. I speak here for the NDC because I believe it's the best vehicle to get us out of this ditch. But if you believe in something else, at least get your name on the register and let us discuss about who is best between now till election day. But before we can have that discussion, we need to have skin in the game. We need to be registered. So I encourage everybody, go out there with the remaining days left, the 7 or so days left, turn out and vote and be patient. No matter how many times those machines don't work, stay there. If you have to do offline registration, do it. Do not give up. Because if we give up on our country, where else would we go? We have seen the sale of land. We have seen the sale of state assets. If we give up on our country, we'll soon be ejected from our own land. And now is the time for us to reclaim all of that. And that can only be done through a change of government.
I think that there's a point you made about there are many Ghanaians who say, we've tried the NDC. It didn't work out so well. We've tried the MPP. This is even worse. Yeah. Now, where do we turn to? In the midst of that, how do the NDC then present themselves as a viable alternative?
I think there's one word that comes to mind whenever that comes up, Sankofa. And it's for good reason that in our traditional language, that term came up. You know, Sankofa is for one good reason. Okay. You look back. Because as human beings, we make decisions. You know, I may have an analog TV and I decide to go for a digital TV. Okay. Bawumia'S digital type, not a proper one. Okay. And then I realize that where I am, that digital thing is not working because for one reason or the other. There's nothing stopping me from looking backwards and deciding to. The NDC did not tell a story, and we all put our hands up. Okay. Most of us and most Ghanaians, yes, in government, most Ghanaians did not realize a lot of the great work that the NDC was doing. And so it was only when we exited power that some of that was coming to the fore and people were realizing, is this what we were doing? And so why was this story not told? And we have learned it well, and we'll make sure we tell our story. But the NDC has a solid record of delivery. Okay. Even if you look now in every single sector, whether it's of our economy, if it's the energy sector, I mean, this government has added barely nothing by way of megawatts to our power sector. It was the NDC that solved Dumso. It was the NDC. I mean, look at the Tamam-Pakadine Railway project that way. It's part of that comprehensive national railway project that the NDC put in place under President John Dramani Mahama. But we have not told our story very well, and the MPP is very good at repackaging, and they are very shameless when it comes to appropriating other people's assets or achievements. And that is one of the reasons why most Ghanaians did not think that we were doing what we actually were doing. That's not to say that we did not have our weaknesses. We did not have opportunities for improvement. But I think the good people of Ghana can look at the NDC, look at the MPP, and say, look, it's better we go back for what we know. The devil we know is better than the angel we don't know. One simple statement that always attests to that for me is, Ghanaians will tell us, look, the NDC are not good at stealing. That is actually a good thing. I want my security man, my gate man, or my houseboy who's no good at stealing. If I go for a professional attire, then I am putting myself in trouble. And so that in itself, in a certain sense, tells you, when it comes to the score of good governance, if you look at the things that have happened, it was under the NDC that a former MP, a minister, head of JIDA, was prosecuted. We prosecuted one of our own. It was under the NDC that my sister Victoria Hammer, just for expressing a wish to enrich herself, was gotten rid of. What do we see today? You have ministers purchasing crown jewels in the state. You have state lands being sold and state institutions being relocated just so that someone can enjoy the largesse at the expense of us. So if you look at what the MPP is doing, the NDC's record pales in comparison. And I'm not saying stealing is good. Small stealing and big stealing are stealing. The NDC has the capacity to come back. And President Mahama has promised it. No corrupt appointee will be shielded. He has the track record. I'm not sure the current flag bearer for the MPP or the current president can say anything like that. Theirs is a case of clearing. Now, if I even put the good governance approach and look at good governance from a development perspective, let us look around ourselves. The road networks, Circle Dubai's NDC. Pokwasi, it was NDC that procured and did everything up to September, I believe it was September 2016, when the contract was signed. The funding was signed with the AFDB, African Development Bank. You know, you look at Tema, the grant from JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, was obtained by the NDC. You know, the only flyover that this government can lay claim to is the Tamale one. And you go to it and you see why they can lay claim to it, because it's a joke compared to what we have. PTC in Takoradi, there's no show for it. So if you look at whether it's routes, if you look at airports, I was here on Wednesday night. I landed at 8 p.m. By the next morning, I flew to Tamale Street and took a shuttle to Bolga to see my mom. Thanks to President Mohammed's ability. I go to my rural village next to Wa. I'll be flying straight from Accra to Wa. 1 hour, 40 minutes, I'm there. That's cutting a journey of 12 hours. That's thanks to President Mahama. These are the tangible developments, and it's across. We're talking about the power plants, Car Power, Ameri. We talk about the airport, Terminal 3. I landed there, and I feel that, look, it's an extension of Heathrow. That's what we are talking about, not what we had there. We're talking about gas. We complain we don't even have gas to power the generation assets. And yet, President Mahama bequeathed to us a gas plant, a trouble gas plant, that has generated over $400 million of gas for us every single year. Calculate from when it came in to date. How much have we saved the country? I'm not even talking about the funds that were left in the various safety nets that this government has squandered. But the NDC has a solid record of delivery. And as I said yesterday on CTFM, if I go to my mechanic, I go to mechanic 1, and they repair my car very well, and it runs very well. Then I go to number 2. And anytime they repair it, I go back on the road, they have to do Yensimpia and take it back there. If I have the opportunity, who do I go back to? I want my mechanic that delivers. My mechanic that has a solid record. And President Mahama delivered a lot of this in 4 short years. So anybody out there say, what can he do with 4 years? His 4 years is more than 10 times the value of the 8 years we have had under this government. And I am confident, and I know many Ghanaians are confident. Do not listen to the MPP. Why are they complaining? Oh, he's only got 4 years. They've got 8 years. They've done nothing with it. He showed what he's done with 4 years, and we want him back. There is no one better than President Mahama to clean this mess. The other reason is the time to lead, time to learn, or time to take off. If I'm new to a job, there's a time to learn, a time to adapt before I start delivery, right? If I've already done it, I know all the levers that are in place. When I get in day one, I no longer need to understand. The time for understanding before you take off is gone. So straight away, when President Mahama is sworn in on 7th of January 2025, you hit the ground running. In fact, you don't even hit the ground. He's going to be running. No, hit the ground. Because he's already on the ground. He knows the terrain. He's done it before. He's resolved Dumso. So he can easily resolve what we have now. We all know now Dumso is not even a case of generating assets, because the same people say we have excess capacity bequeathed to us by President Mahama, which is good. The capacity to export to Burkina Faso and make some hard currency to stabilize the city that is dancing Palugo at the moment. So President Mahama is ready for the job. All we have to do is just get away with this small matter of getting Ghanaians to endorse President Mahama, which I'm confident they will do. So every single one there, go and get your vote. If you are not registered, get yourself registered. Even if you are not sure, check and double check that you'll be registered. Let us make sure we rescue this country, because 7th December is not just an election, it's an Independence Day. We have to reclaim our independence from our unfortunate compatriots in the MPP. And this is not the true MPP, not the true Darocha MPP, not the true President John Ajekum Kufuor MPP. The MPP that was known for competence and for delivery. Unfortunately, the government we have now, there are 2 things that describe it. State capture, which is the height of corruption, and complete mismanagement. Ghana needs to work again. And we can only do that if we all rally round and rescue our country. Regardless of your political affiliations, I think it's the interest of the NPP to even ensure that the NDC comes back to power so that they can regroup, rediscover their true creed and the true MPP, and make sure they can position themselves to be an alternative to the NDC and keep us on our toes.
I'll come back to some of the things you said, but before that, I want your reaction to this.
0.5. Myself and my main opponent are all your children. We are both from the north. And, you know, he is being president before. I haven't been president before. So I've told him that he's my senior brother. He should have patience and wait for me to also become president of this country, so that I will be able to be president for 8 years, and he can only be president for 4 years. So if the presidency is coming home, then we should have it for 8 years rather than 4 years. So I've asked him to exercise some patience.
That's the main contender to former President John Mahama, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Yeah. He says they are all from the same house. That whatever happens, the president comes to one house. The presidency will come to one house. What do you make of that whole analogy he's made? Does he have a point?
I think it is sad when you have no less a person than the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana reducing the affairs of governing this country to a matter of homecoming. This presidency is not about home. And I certainly have never voted and will never vote for anybody to be the president of this country because they come from my home or where I come from. That is what leads us to the ditch we are in now, where you vote for somebody because of their proximity to you by tribe, by association, and not on competence. What he should have been saying there is, I am competent in this area. I have delivered in this area. This President Mahama has not, and this is why I want you to put me there. This country will only develop if we focus on people who are able to do what we need them to do. At the end of the day, when I wake up, I'm interested in the price of bread, in the price of cocoa. I'm not interested in whether or not my brother is at the helm of affairs. If my brother is at the helm of affairs and I'm going through starvation, how does that help me? I would rather even have somebody I am not related to at all. And that's why the Republic of Ghana is not a republic of homecoming or relationships. What he has done is reducing governance into the usual bucket of ethnocentrism. I'm a Wala man. I'm from the north. And I would take issue with anybody who thinks that this is a matter about presidency going to the north or presidency going to the south or the east or the west. It is about good governance in Ghana. And when a person, and that's one thing I find in my life, when you meet people who preach about, do this for me because we are friends, do this for me because we come from the same place, do this for me because of this. My question to them is that all that defines you? Where you come from? Where is your metal? What do you bring to the table? What are you going to do to transform this country? We're talking about inflation at 25%. It's rising again. We're talking about people struggling to put body and soul together. And you are telling me about homecoming? I mean, this is sad. I expect to see tangible policies. I want to see somebody aspiring to be president of Ghana bringing on board a running mate that would help them to change the face of Ghana. Not somebody talking about it is coming home as if it is musical chairs. This is not a governance, a republic of musical chairs. Oh, you are my brother, so you take it and come. If you go down this line, then you cannot complain about others who would also say, oh, I mean, the likes of Safomaf and the likes, or even President Akufo-Addo, who talked about Kamfuor and all that stuff. So I think that's an unfortunate gaffe that he should not have gone to, and he should be apologizing to the good people of Ghana. If you go down this thing of, okay, it's about whom? President Mohammed and I are both Northerners. Therefore, it's about either him or myself or him. How do you expect somebody who's not a Northerner to vote for you? Where is the logic in that? So this thing is bigger than any section of this country. We must go back to the Osagyefo days. And this is one thing. Even General Achampon talked about one nation, one destiny. Inflation doesn't care whether I am from Nzimaland or I am Krobo. Inflation will hit us the same. Bad governance, the people looting the lands, are they looting because of where they come from? So I think it's unfortunate that Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia will go down this track. He should focus on his policies. If he's giving up on policies and good governance and just want to play tokenism, he should just back off and let this country focus on serious leadership. And that's what Ghanaians must do. We will only progress when we focus on people, putting the right people in the right places and not our people in the right places. Square pegs in round holes will never solve the problem. And I'm not suggesting it's a square peg, but he has to justify why he's not a square peg. And coming from one part of the country or the other, is not valid justification for being a square peg or otherwise. That's my view on that. I would even go to the other disgraceful bits. But for me, I think that our vice president has to take the governance of this country serious. It should not be reduced to where a person comes from and whether someone has had it before and therefore should not. He was vice president for 4 years. He went again for another 4 years. Is anybody saying he should step aside for somebody else to be vice president? So I think that this is a reductionism at its worst and should not be entertained by Ghanaians at all.
But he's also talked about the fact that, in fact, this morning, one of the newspapers actually captures him saying he has 40 policies to his name. And he's asking when former President Mahama was vice president, how many policies he has to his name. He tags himself as perhaps the best performing vice president Ghana has ever seen. And that should earn him the job. Because if he's done so well as vice president, he should be given the opportunity to be president. Don't you agree?
If he's done so well, the essence of governance is improving the lives of the people. Governance is not a case of generating policies and green papers and white papers and locking them away in some archive while the people suffer. I want to know the impact of those magical 33 policies that he's spoken of. Okay. How have they impacted Ghana? How have they changed Ghana? Can he tell us? I will give a few metrics. He came in and inherited, and he lampooned it and made fun of it. Economic growth of 3.4%, the lowest the NDC ever recorded, which was 3.4%. Yes, our highest was over 14% in 2011 when President Mahama was chairman of the Economic Management Committee. He's taken it to 0.4% in 2020 as chairman of the Economic Management Committee. How did any of his 33 policies help that? As we speak, last year was 2.8%. This year is rolling for about 2.5%. How has any of his 33 policies made it superior to the performance of President Mahama? President Mahama superintended over 33 consecutive months of single-digit inflation from April 2010 all the way to about February 2013. The MPP has not managed that. As we speak now, inflation is at 25%. What is the impact of any of the 33 policies he's gloating over on this? What is the impact of his 33 policy positions on Galamsey, on the cost of living crisis, on the debt burden we are in? On the CD has now hit 18. This morning was 18.1, and some are even trading at 19 to the sterling, the pound sterling. How have his policies helped? His so-called gold for oil policy. Where is that? We are looking at oil now going for over 14 cedis a liter. That was the same price that President Mahama was selling it at a gallon. How have his 33 policies helped him? And so what he should be looking at is, see, governance is not a ceteris paribus adventure, where you just spew policies out and cite ceteris paribus, all things being equal in economics, and say yes. Though the feel-good factor of having policies don't make a difference to the price of a ball of kinky. I'm buying a ball of kinky at 5 cedis. I used to buy it at 50 pesos, and you said life was hard. Farmers were suffering. Businesses were suffering in his own language. Now I'm buying that 5 cedis, and you are telling me that you have 33 magical policies that are better, and therefore I should vote for you based on policy? If we wanted somebody with a record of solid policies, if you like, a record of abundance of policies to be our president, we should be going to the policy analysts at our various ministries. We shouldn't be looking for a president then. And so I think that unfortunately our vice president has misunderstood the essence of governance. Those policies are a means to an end. The means to an end is developing the human capital, our fiscal capital, making sure everybody has bread on their table, a roof over their head, clothes on their back, and the opportunity, equal opportunity to realize their own dreams. It is not about writing policies. I can get any policy analyst from the University of Ghana to spawn out 100 policies at the blink of an eye. Would that qualify them to lead this country? We are not in the business of producing policies.
We are in the business of changing lives. He's implemented all this.
Well, and this is where he should have told us, these are my tangible achievements. Mm-hmm. He's run away from the economy into IT. He shouldn't have told us, these are my policies. Where are those 33 policies? That's what we want to see. What's the impact of those policies? Anybody can engage in policy formulation. But state governance is not just about policy. You put policies in place to provide a certain direction. Okay. Then you implement. That's what's most important. Look, if policy formulation, or even let me go as far as budgets, which are effectively our financial operational tactic for implementing policies. Africans or Ghanaians, I may use in this case, we are known, and it's said that we are very good at budgeting, but not at delivering them. Mm-hmm. If you listen to all the budgets we have delivered since the First Republic in 1992, we should have been bigger than Singapore, but we are not. Mm-hmm. What kind of budgets did we not hear of? And every budget had a name. Where did it all end? In tears. We have 1D, 1F. I mean, 1V, 1D. 1 village, 1 dam. Where I live in Bolga there, when I go, One of them, the chief of the place, I mean, kids play football in a dam. I've never seen that. Try playing football at Kosombo Dam. Then you know that there are dams and there are dams. You know, and so we shouldn't be touting policies 1D, 1F. Where is the 1D, 1F? Repurposing existing industries, giving them free money and claiming they are there. What is the tangible impact of 1D, 1F when unemployment has almost doubled to 14% from what you inherited at 8%? When manufacturing collapsed, manufacturing was in negative territory earlier this year. So what is the impact of 1D, 1F? When there was no 1D, 1F, manufacturing was soaring. When there's 1D, 1F, we are struggling. What's the impact of 1D, 1F or one village, one dam on the city? You know, because if an industry is moving and you are manufacturing, you should be engaging either import substitution or export. Either of them has the impact of either reducing the demand for foreign currency or bringing in more foreign currency to stabilize the city. And so, in his own terms, when the fundamentals are weak, the economy will expose you. In his case, the fundamentals have been whittled away and don't exist. And it's being seen in our growth pattern, it's being seen in inflation, it's being seen in the depreciation of the city. So when you come spouting policies, Ghana is not a country for policy making. It's a country for development. And that's what we want. Because I've never seen any policy without implementation that deliver electricity to his own home.
Any policy without implementation?
Yeah. We have a rural electrification policy. You do nothing about it. Say, oh, it's nice. We all pat ourselves in the back, go to Aliza Hotel and celebrate the policy and put it down. How will that move electricity to the village that hasn't got it? You have to move to the implementation stage, and there has to be tangible impact. The policy is a guiding document that tells you this is what you want to do, this is how you're going to do it. Somebody has to hit boots on the ground before it will be implemented. We had an agreement that will be here today. That was an agreement on paper. If I didn't turn up here, would the agreement suffice? And I think that...
But you're also suggesting that even implementation is not enough.
That's a fact of the matter. The difference is, if you look at the MPP, they are very good at policy, throwing policies about. You know, policy saturation. Very little on implementation. They botch whatever they seek to implement. 1D, 1F is an example. I mean, one village, one dam is another example. Okay. I mean, very... Let's even look at free SHS. A very sound policy. President Mahama started progressive free SHS. Building schools like the community schools, very similar to what we have in the UK and other places. Every community should have a school, which is a commutable distance. So it reduces government's pressure in terms of being able to accommodate them at one place. Because the cost of accommodating students in boarding houses could actually be the amount that you use to build more schools. So that we mop up. What have they done? They've implemented a free SHS policy without implementing the capacity to absorb. And so you now have to what? Cut a 3-year SHS program to 1.5 years, because half the time, half of the students are home. Okay. So that's another example of a policy whose implementation has been botched, that has gone bad. This is what the MPP flag bearer should be talking about. How does he address it? They put out policy, a part of the going to implement, build the Palgu Dam. Now he's going around the upper, he's promising that he'll build a dam. How many years? They even cut a sword for it. And there's still a billboard, a massive one in Bolga there, touting it.
Money
go to the ground. On it. They spent $10 million. And you can't even trace one single brick that has been laid to support that. That's another example of counting. I'm sure he will count Palgu Dam and other things among his policy proposals. We are not interested in reading policies. We're interested in economics. We want to buy kinky. We want to be able to afford TZ. We want to be able to what? Afford school fees, unfortunately. You say you don't pay school fees, but the amount you spend on your child is even more than the school fees. So I call it school fees in quotes. So I think we need to get serious about this country in terms of delivering for the people. At the end of the day, it's about delivering to the needs of the people. It's not about theorization. Anybody can theorize, but not everybody can implement.
Because everything you said so far, what value does at least good policies or good intentions have? Because, of course, when they started, when they say free SHS was a good idea, good policy idea. In fact, the implementation alone, okay, good. Then one district, one factory. Everybody agrees, great idea. Yeah. Does that also not say something, at least, that I had the intention alone? Should you not score some marks?
So, absolutely. And that's why it's famously said that the road to hell is what paved with what? Good intentions. So people start on a very good trajectory. Now, there's a good reason why it says the road to hell. It says even as you are heading full speed, at breakneck speed to hell, you have got good intentions before you realize you are in hell. Why? Because intentions in themselves are not enough. The intention is supposed to give you the overall view of this is what we want to achieve. I want to get to home. That is my intention. I put it in the document, articulate it. There are many ways for getting there. Do I drive? And if I'm driving, which road am I going to take that will get me there? Do I fly? Which airline am I going to take? Which ones are available? I select one. If I stop there and say, yes, I've done the job, good, I've got my policy, I will never be in Ho. I need to buy that ticket. And whether I'm flying or going by STC or driving, I need to actually implement what's in the policy so that I'll end up in Ho, and then I can testify that I have arrived. That is as simple as it comes when it comes to state governance. Of course, we need policies, because if we don't have policies, everything will be done what? As my friend will say, helter-skelter. Everything will be done haphazardly. You know, you need some form of policy coherence so that if one policy is flipping it backwards, the other policy is not reversing it. But at the end of the day, once you have the policy, that is why you then need to sit down and execute them. And as you execute the policy, sometimes you need to tweak the policy based on the realities on the ground to achieve what needs to be done. So if I have voted 200,000 Ghana cedi for each dam, and I want to deliver one village, one dam, and I suddenly find that after building the first dam in Kajelu, it got washed away by the first rainfall. I need to take a step back and say, that's not the objective of it. I was supposed to have a dam that holds water throughout the dry season for farmers. And so if 200,000 is not enough, it's better for me to double it 400,000, recalibrate, redesign the dams, and make sure I'm delivering dams. What did they do? They carried on regardless. Some of them dry up, even gutters have water when those dams have no water. Some of them got washed away by rain. The proverbial dam that is supposed to collect rainwater is actually being washed away by the self-same rain. And then you go and celebrate those policies as a success. That is not a success. We are seeing Tamama Rice Factory collapse. And yet you say you have engaged in what? Planting for food and jobs. We have planted for food and jobs so well that we were now selling plantain at Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Agriculture. If you had an abundance of it, the price should be coming down. But you track it. So you see all those policies. You know, I mean, unfortunately, our brothers in the MPP are very good at sloganeering. But governance is not about sloganeering. It's about delivery. I know we in the NDC are not good at sloganeering. We are good at delivery. We deliver. We don't sloganeer. We, of course, to our discredit, we don't propagate enough. But I would rather have somebody who is functionally effective than aesthetically brilliant. Because aesthetics don't cut. No matter how beautiful you are, if you don't do the job, if you don't cut it, then you are of no relevance. You have to be effective before you can be adorned in any flowery clothes or anything like that.
Well, if you just join us, I'm having a conversation with Conrad Dumbah, who is Chairman NDC UK-Ireland. We have to take a break. When we come back, we are talking about one of the things we talk with him about the most. I knew he was coming to town, so that's how come you haven't heard me call him on this matter of the CD, the fall of the CD. And this is continuing, actually. The dollar gets expensive by the day. And it's not only the dollar, people are not even paying attention to the pound sterling and the euro, where they are going. So when we come back from that break, we'll talk about it and talk about some other issues that fall directly into his domain. This is the Gold Morning Conversation, live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM, also live on Sekbele 104.3 in Likpeto Dome. And they are the voice from afar. They are partners. Bringing this to you.